Well, just last week I went on my annual pilgrimage to Le Mans for the 24-hour race in France, and unfortunately I was one of those unlucky people that gets pulled in by customs and excise to ask all the awkward questions. So customs pulled me over, and of course he finds a knife. So it turns out, I'm now some kind of a criminal, because it's now illegal in this country to carry a knife. And they've also written that I was carrying a flick knife, which I'd probably just like to explain. Instead of I was carrying a flick knife, what I was actually carrying was a knife that you could open with one hand, because that's what they class as a flick knife now. Anything that can be opened with one hand can be flicked and is therefore a flick knife. I've got to admit, the guy running customs wasn't a bad chap at all. He was nice enough, but he just basically said, yeah, you're not allowed to carry these. If you'd have been in France, it would have been absolutely fine. You can carry them at the other end, but you can't carry them here in the UK. And I was quite annoyed about that. Probably indignant is a better word. I mean, I'm a 50-year-old technical director of an engineering company. He asked me, did I have any weapons on me? No, because I don't carry weapons. I've carried a knife since I was a Boy Scout, since the age of about 8. I will always carry a knife because a knife is a very useful thing to have, and I would never dream of stabbing anybody. Of course, they try and criminalise everything in the UK now. They don't actually try to control the people who are stabbing each other in London and other major cities. What they try to do is just penalise, the low-hanging fruit, me and you. They try and criminalise us and for carrying knives. So I think they probably have the same problem in America with guns. I think you could probably argue that guns really don't have a lot of use apart from maybe self-defence and killing people. Where to carry a knife, I carry a knife every day, I use it every day, and usually I get through the day without stabbing anybody. So this is a new knife that I've bought, and I just thought I'd tell you a little bit about it. I don't want to get too much into UK knife law because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an expert, and I haven't read that much about it, but I've tried to keep myself legal. So some of the prerequisites for a legal knife in the UK is we have to have a blade which is less than 3 inches long in total. So yeah, let's see if we pass that one. And there you go, this knife is just under 3 inches long. Now the other prerequisite for a knife in the UK is it must be non-locking. And what they mean by that, it mustn't have like a switch or a push button which is designed to lock the knife in the open position like this, which is an absolutely totally stupid arsehole of an idea, because the last thing that anybody wants, if you carry a knife for legitimate reasons like I do, you don't want to be carving something or working on something. Hopefully if you've got your technique right, you should never fold the blade back onto your fingers. But let's face it, accidents happen. So really, you would want to have a lock knife which will stop the blade from folding up on your fingers. But that's classed as being illegal now in the UK. You can only have what they call a folding knife. So if you've got a knife that's got like a switch on it or a button that you have to press down so that you can fold the knife back into the sheath, if you like. If you have a locking knife, that's now illegal in the UK. So yeah, don't carry it, or you could be in hot water and prosecuted. So I just wanted to explain a little bit further what I meant by a locking knife. So you can see that there's no push buttons or anything on here. When I actually take the blade out, I can actually just I can fold the blade back again, and I can do that. I don't have to press a button or slide a switch. I can the knife locks itself, and it unlocks just by pressing the back of the blade. So it's kind of an automatic locking knife, but it's not classed in the law as being a lock knife. So just to show you an example of a lock knife, this is an EKA, and it's made in Sweden, made from very good steel, and I would actually class this personally as being the ideal pocket knife for to carry, but unfortunately it would be totally illegal. The blade I think is probably just over 3 inches long, which makes it illegal, but what makes it particularly illegal is the fact that it's a locking knife again. When I actually fold the blade out, you could hear the click, but if I actually put force on the back of the blade, I don't like doing this, you shouldn't do it, but if I put force on the back of the blade here, it doesn't try to fold up on my fingers, and the reason it doesn't try to fold up is inside the knife internally, there is actually a lock mechanism here. So even if I was to put quite a bit of force on the back of it, in theory this blade won't fold up and cut my fingers. So to fold the blade back into this knife, you've got to press this button here, press it on the back, and then the blade will fold in. So here's another of my knives. This is a Hella, which I think is another Swedish knife. It could be Finnish, I'm not dead sure. Now it may look like I've got quite a lot of knives here, but can I just say that I've been into camping, bushcraft, carving, and in fact climbing now for, well, most of my life, 30 years. I've been all over the world camping and climbing. I've been out in Sweden snow hauling and living off the land. I've done all that kind of thing. So if you want to do that kind of stuff, it's essential you have good quality knives. So these aren't cheap things that you buy off the pound market or something like that. I think that's probably the cheapest knife. That's probably about 20. Actually no, that's the cheapest one. So there's maybe a 20-30 pound knife, this Eka. This is probably a £100 knife. So I can't remember if that's Swedish or Finnish, but again, that's quite a big knife. I wouldn't recommend carrying that every day in my pocket. Although if I was doing some bushcraft or field sports, I probably would carry something like that. Again, here's the lock, same place as on the other knife, so if I try to fold the blade back, it won't go. If you do want to put the blade away, you got to press the release mechanism, which is on here. Press that, and now the blade will fold in quite easily. So here's another of my favourite knives, and this is actually probably one of the cheapest knives here. You can probably have these for less than £10. It's not a British knife, it's actually a French knife, and it's called an Opinel knife, Opinel, and they have numbers on them. The bigger the number, the larger the size. So this is a number 8, which is probably about mid-range. I would say this is an ideal pocket knife. The blades are made from high carbon steel. You can get an absolute razor edge on them. But unfortunately, again, although this is an ideal pocket knife, unfortunately illegal because it has a lock on it. So you turn the collar here, and actually the lock on these is very good. It's probably as safe or safer than, you know, many other knives. You turn that, and now even if I try to close the blade, it won't, because this collar is stopping it from closing. But again, because it has got this locking collar, which makes the knife very safe, unfortunately it's another illegal knife now, so you can't carry that either. So I'm sure some people now will be feeling very smug because they don't carry a locking knife. Maybe they carry a multi-tool like this, and of course there's no problem carrying a multi-tool. This is a very popular Leatherman wave, and it's my everyday carry. Ooh, just covered it in grease. Oh well, something sticky and nasty. But again, unfortunately, if we take the blade out of here, which one is it? Is that the main blade? I think it is. Take the blade out, and this is what they call a liner lock knife. It has a little bar that springs up there. So again, I've folded that blade out. I can't push it back under pressure. What I have to do is I've got to retract that lock mechanism there and fold it back. And I suspect this is double illegal because I can also open it with one hand. So for those people that are carrying their Leatherman wave, their multi-tool, because obviously it's a really useful thing to carry, you're double, triple illegal. The blade, I think, is longer than 3 inches. It's a lock knife, and you can open it one-handed. So you, my friend, should be going to prison because you're obviously a criminal. So I think the reason they've said that you can't have locking knives is what they don't want is they don't want you waving the knife around like this. Or what they want to happen, they want a knife with quite a poor ability. They actually want it to feel unstable, and they want, potentially, if you're fighting, they want the blade to fold up on your fingers and maybe dissuade you from having a knife fight in the first place. Now, if anybody wants to buy one of these knives, this knife is actually made by the SOG company, and it's called the Terminus. Now, the knife that I actually got confiscated was the SOG Flash 2.
So I thought I'd do a quick overview of my SOG Flash 2. This is my everyday carry knife. I've been carrying this for about 2.5 years now. The blade length comes in at around 3.5 inches. This is the drop point version of this knife. You know, if you're into this size of knife, I would highly recommend you pick one of these up. I think you'll find a place for it, even if it's not, you know, the nicest folder around. It's definitely a great tool, and I would highly recommend you try it out. Thanks for watching.
And I say, I was quite upset to lose that, but I've actually tried to replace it with something which is, let's just call it more legal. The blade length is less than 3 inches long, and it's a folding knife without a lock. So the blade basically just folds in there. I can close it at any time. And the other key feature, of course, is that I can't open this with one hand. If I wanted to pull it out of a pocket and stab somebody, what I'd actually have to do is I'd have to get the knife out of my pocket, then I'd have to take 2 hands, I'd have to fold it out, and then I'd be ready for my fight. So again, those with wisdom have decided that the fact that you've got to open the knife with 2 hands is something which makes it legal for us to carry in the UK. So if this was a knife that you could open with one hand, or maybe if the blade was just very loose, and you could flick it out like that, if it was just a loose blade, again that would become a flick knife and would be illegal. Now going back to the I'm going to call it a lock because I don't know how else you'd call it. The lock on this knife, I don't know if you heard that, when I actually open the blade, it actually does open with a very audible loud click. Do that again. So the lock on here, even though it's not a push button release mechanism, once you have locked this blade out like that, the lock is actually quite a powerful lock. So it's hopefully, even if I make a mistake doing something, it's not going to fold up on my fingers. The other protection it's got here is you can see the little piece of metal that sticks out at the bottom of the blade. So the idea is you kind of cinch up on that when you're holding the knife. So if the knife does try to fold up on my fingers, and actually this is where I close it, I press down like that, hopefully you can see that that little piece of metal there, that little lump that sticks out, that just catches on my hand there, and it actually stops, it catches on this finger, so I can't close that, or it won't close on my fingers anyway. So again, it just reduces the chances of this knife folding up on my fingers. So you can see this light brown plastic material here. Well, that is plastic. It's actually what they call, I think they call it G10 material, which is basically a glass reinforced plastic. This wording and this texture here, it's not moulded into the knife. This is actually a machine cut into it. It's routed into the plastic, and the knife has a stainless steel liner inside it. It's fairly light, and it also comes with a pocket clip, and I think I've actually decided I'm no longer going to use a pocket clip on my knife, because I think perhaps it does draw attention to the fact that I'm carrying a knife. You don't want to give the police opportunity to go digging. You know, you could be walking around in public, and as I say, I do intend to carry this knife in public because I've always carried a knife since I was in Boy Scouts. I use a knife every day. I'm not a criminal and I'm not doing anything wrong. But the blade on this knife, it's made from what they call it's a Chinese steel, and it's got, I think it's CTS, which I think stands for some kind of Chinese steel, and then it's got 801 on it, and I think it's classed as what they class as a carpenter's steel. So you can make of that as you will. I think it means that it's not super hard, and if you damage it, it's fairly easy to put the edge back on it. Some of the popular stainless steels these days that people make knives out of, they are tremendously tough and hard, and it's really hard to get an edge back on them. If you've got knives made from, you know, just high carbon steel, you can just use normal wet stones or carborundum stones. I tend to use Japanese water stones for all my wood tools, and you know, my conventional knives, I would use a Japanese water stone. But what I've found is that those Japanese water stones, for whatever reason, they just work very poorly on stainless steels. The next item that I wanted to show you today is well, it's to do with sharpening, so let's have a look at that. Now, I found that stainless steel knives are just very difficult to sharpen with what I have. They just seem to be very tough. So what I've done is I've gone and bought this Lansky sharpening system, and I think the important thing to know about this is that it uses diamonds. It uses a diamond sharpening system. So rather than using I don't know, carborundum or some natural, do they call it a Kansas stone, something like that the Americans do, I think. rather than using a natural stone or a carborundum stone. This is going to use a diamond, and of course everybody knows that diamond is really about as hard as it gets. The other thing about this sharpening system is that obviously when you're trying to sharpen a knife or a tool or anything, you have to have a consistent angle. The bevel of the knife on the blade has to be consistent. There's no point in having lots of different angles on it. It comes out looking like a diamond, all different facets on it. So you've got to be very, very consistent with the angles. So in some ways I'd actually say that a sharpening system like this is probably better for the infrequent knife sharpener. If you have a lot of wood cutting tools and you know, maybe you're a knife collector or use a knife a very great deal, you won't need one of these because you probably sharpen a knife that frequently that you know, you don't need any assistance. You can just do it by hand. You can hold the knife against the stone and you can get a consistent angle. Unfortunately, I just don't get enough practice these days sharpening knives to get a consistent angle, so hopefully this will do that as well. It will keep the angle on the blade very consistent. Now if you go on YouTube, you'll actually find hundreds and hundreds of videos showing you how to use this Lansky sharpening system, and you know, showing you how to do it, and reviews and all that kind of thing. I'm not going to do a review on it. I'm just going to have a go at using it and see if I can get a knife sharpened. So these are the sharpening stones. So this part of it is made out of plastic, but on the underside here, what I suspect this is probably something like a block of zinc, or it's maybe steel that's been dipped in zinc, and then while the zinc is red hot, what they actually do is they sprinkle diamonds on top of it, and those diamonds get caught in the hot zinc, and effectively the diamonds are glued onto the steel. So we start off here, we've got a very, very coarse edge here. So this very coarse edge is what you want to do when you take a lot of metal off the blade. You know, if you've got a blade that's damaged, got chips in it, you probably want to remove a lot of metal from the blade. So that's a very coarse one. And then we've got the different colours here. Basically, as far as I understand, these are just getting finer and finer. Not exactly sure what the order is until we get this super fine one here. Probably could do with just looking up to find what these are. They don't, well, they do say something on them. So we've got a gold coloured one here that says it's fine diamond, orange one, medium diamond, purple coarse diamond, and extra coarse is this kind of silvery grey one. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this sharpening system is what they call a guided system. So it uses, if I can get these rods out, it seems to be very stuck in. Oh, there we go. It uses guide rods to set the angle that you sharpen the knife at. And again, just going off the YouTube video, I'm just going to show you what other people do. Basically, the guide rod has to go in here. Oh, I'm just looking at that. This guide rod isn't lying flat, so what you should actually do is you should put this on a flat surface, and this rod here should lie flat with the surface. It's not doing that, it's actually sticking up a bit. So I've just installed our guide rod, and it should actually be sitting flat. It should be completely flat against the desk, but these rods here, they mustn't be bent properly, which is a bit of an obvious fail, isn't it? You'd think that it could at least get the angle right. So the diamond stone that I picked up here is the extra coarse one. We're actually going to use that on this kitchen knife. I actually bought many years ago these Victorinox kitchen knives. Well, I bought them as a present for my wife. Not sure that was a good idea at the time. She's actually really into cooking and stuff like that, and she wanted some reasonable quality knives, and these were very good, but I've never been able to sharpen them. I mean, I should say, qualify that, I've tried to sharpen them many times, and the stainless steel that these are made out of, I don't know what it is. I mean, there is a number on here which I don't think is a stainless grade. It says something like 5.280315. I can't see don't recognise as that being a grade of stainless, but basically I've never been able to sharpen them. Whatever I try to put against them, my carborundum stones or my Japanese water stones, just nothing touches them. And these are, you know, they're absolutely, you know, I can do that basically, you know, without fear of cutting me, and that's a very blunt knife. So this part here that comes with a kit is a clamp for holding the knife, so let's go ahead and install the knife. Now I've got to admit, I'm not sure what size of knife these are designed to sharpen. Most people seem to use pocket knives and things like that with these. Well, obviously this is a lot bigger than a pocket knife, but we'll have to see. It'll either work or it won't it? I think you've got to try to get that reasonably at 90 degrees to the sharpener. I don't think it makes a lot of difference. So what I think you do is you close this one up a little bit, and then there's like a fun jacking screw here, which now this is the one that actually does the clamping. This front screw here just sets the basic width of these, and it actually, just looking at it, it looks as though, oh, that's probably okay. I was going to say it looks as though I could do with tightening that down a bit more. Let's have a go at that. Has that got it? Not super secure. Now hopefully you can see on camera that this clamp that's holding the knife in place here, it's got these holes here, and these holes have got the sharpening degrees on it. So you've got 17, 20, 25 or 30 degrees, and of course you want to sharpen one side of the blade and then you would want to sharpen the other side. So what you could do is you could take the knife out and turn it round and put it back in and clamp it up again, but they've actually made it easier for you. You can actually just turn it over and it's got the same kind of graticule markings on it. So basically you sharpen one side and you turn it over and do the other. So it really is very simple. All you've got to do is you've got to choose the angle that you want to sharpen the knife at. So you could choose 17, 20, 25 or 30, and then all you do is you go up and down like that, and that will start to sharpen the knife. Now I've got one further piece of the kit that I wanted to show you. So I've also got this clamp, which I don't think that's the one I ordered actually. I thought the one I ordered was designed to bolt down to a piece of wood or something, but this is like some kind of G-clamp assembly, which is obviously designed to grab the end of a bench, but there's nothing wrong with that. Of course it's in one of those annoying blister packs, so if we had a sharp knife we could open it, couldn't we? Oh, I think I'm just going to fail. Fail! Okay. Oh, that should be okay. Now we take that and we rest it on there like that, and that should stop everything from being quite so wibbly wobbly. Well, I've got to admit I have been struggling a little bit just to find the right angle for these. It's somewhere between, I think, 17 and 20. But unfortunately, when you actually try to use a 17 on this, it actually catches this thumb screw. It's as though it's too high, so I can't actually use the 17 on this. So that's a bit of a fail. It could be I'm doing something wrong. I'm not sure, but it does seem to miss that when you're in the 20. So I think I'm going to go for the 20. And if it looks like I'm doing this very inexpertly because I don't know what I'm doing, that's because I'm not an expert and I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm sure, like anything else, it gets better with practice. This is super coarse. I can see that it is actually, you know, taking quite a lot of the metal off here. And what I'm actually feeling for now, I'm actually trying to feel for a burr. I'm not counting the number of strokes I'm doing or anything like that. I'm feeling for what they call a burr or a wire edge, because the very top surface of metal, when it becomes sharpened, the metal will fold over onto the other side of the blade. So I'm feeling for a burr forming, and yeah, there's certainly no burr there at the moment. Now this blade is actually quite a thin blade, and as I actually try to use the hone, I think it's actually bending the blade slightly because it's such a thin piece of metal. Well, you know what, I still can't feel that burr forming, but I'm going to turn the knife over and have a go on the other side because I don't want to get it completely unevenly ground. Well, I've just finished using the 2 coarse grit stones, and I've gone down to this medium grit now, and I'm just going to repeat the process again. I have to say these diamond stones really do seem quite aggressive. They remove quite a lot of metal, which if you've got a knife that's very blunt, I guess that's a good thing. Now the thing about sharpening knives, one thing that's really important is consistency, and I'm aware at the moment I'm not actually being very consistent in the technique I'm using, but that's only going to come with practice. I'm trying to feel for a burr, trying to feel for a wired edge, and I'm not really feeling it. I can only assume that with stainless steel you don't get such a, such an outstanding burr. And maybe there's a little one there. Have another go, I think. And now I'm going to use this fine one just to finish off with. Okay, I can actually feel a little bit of a burr there this time, so I guess turn it over. And that is starting to feel sharp now. Now I've also got this part, which is a leather strop. Now this isn't actually used for sharpening if you've ever used a leather strop. All it's designed to do is just break off the very fine wired edge, the piece of bent over metal that gets formed when you're sharpening. So this won't really remove any metal, it's not a sharpening stone, it's just a piece of leather. Yeah, well, I've only done a few strokes with this, and it's absolutely rubbish, so I don't recommend buying this leather strop. It's totally useless. So what I recommend you do instead of using the leather strop that comes with the Lansky kit is you actually make your own. You want something like an old leather belt, and you want to glue it to a piece of wood with the rough side of the leather kind of pointing upwards. And if you've got it, it's not necessarily essential. You can get something called jeweler's rouge, or maybe a stropping paste for an old straight razor. There's lots of different things you can use. I think this one is just a polishing compound. I'm not even sure what it is. It's don't know if it's fine, coarse or whatever. They do come in different grades, the polishing compounds. So I'm going to take the knife out of the holder, and I'm now just going to give it a strop. And what this will do is, as I said, it's not really removing metal. Well, it's removing a little bit. What this is mainly doing, it's just going to polish the edge, and it's going to remove any remainder of the wired edge. Okay, that still looks a bit rough. It needs a bit more work, this. When you're stropping a knife on a piece of leather like this, the angle isn't really that important. Basically all you need to do is you put it down on there, and you just want to raise it up, raise the back of the knife up just at an angle. It's not too critical, so that the very tip, the very edge of the blade wants to be pressed into the leather. And you can be quite firm with the pressure if you want to. You're not going to damage the edge. You can press quite firmly. In many cases you'd want to press quite firmly and just drag it along. Typically you'd probably want to do 10 strops on one side. Then turn it over and try and do 10 on the other side. One. I've just been polishing away at this edge now, and unfortunately I can still see the remains of the last stone which I used on here, which was actually their fine stone. I actually don't think that the fine stone that comes in the kit is actually fine enough. I would like to see something, I would actually say much finer than what they provide. I think you can actually buy an extra fine stone separately, but you don't get one in the kit. So let's see if that's sharp. It certainly feels a lot sharper. Yep, that's not bad. Does it pass the old shave test? Yeah, it does. I wouldn't call it hair-poppingly sharp. Again, if I use my Japanese waterstones on a carbon blade, carbon steel blade, the actual hairs, when I do that on my arm, the hairs actually jump off. It is true what they say about hair-poppingly sharp. If you have a really sharp blade, the hairs on your arm will just pop off. Well, there's a little bit of drag on there, so I don't think this is quite as sharp as I was using my Japanese whetstones, but my Japanese whetstones are 10,000 grit, and I think these diamond ones may only be 1,000, so we're an order of magnitude out there on fineness. Certainly, I've tried to sharpen these stainless steel knives in the past using a variety of things and always totally failed. These are actually now sharp, certainly usable. Thumbs up for this little Lansky sharpening system. It certainly works well on stainless steel blades. Not perfectly, but good enough, and good enough for me.